Today is really quite an honor for me. I've been looking forward to an interview with our morning guest today for quite some time. Thanks to our brother Amani from Panther City, the Bay Area, he was able to make the arrangements. We're very grateful. The author of the Universal Compensatory Code book is with us today. At the beginning of the program, you often hear me go through the areas of human interactivity or people activity. Well, that is the genesis and the work of our guest this morning. Without any further delay, I'm honored to bring to our LIB Radio family the Honorable Mr. Neely Fuller. Welcome to LIB Radio, Mr. Neely Fuller.
Yes, I'm here.
It's a pleasure to have you with us today. You're talking to us out of metropolitan Washington, D.C. First of all, let's ask, how is our Baba doing, and how's the weather there in Washington, D.C.?
Well, it's rather mild. It's overcast, what they call a gray day, and it's cold, but it's mild compared to winters in some other places farther north. And there's no snow. It's just what you might call a typical wintry autumn day.
All right. Well, I know you're looking forward to holding on to that as long as you can, because when it snows, it does snow. And I trust that we're catching you in good spirits today.
Well, I try to be that way, and as far as putting my spirit to use, to try to help find what I call the logic, because that's the purpose for spirit, presumably, based on logic. That would be the purpose for spirit, to help a person to generate the interest and focus toward finding logic and then using that logic for the most constructive purpose. I hope that I'm doing that, or can do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's a very, very good place for we as people of African descent, especially in redefining our relationship with the whites and the white power system. Logic is a thing that system seems to have, through a strategic and systematic psychological warfare campaign, seems to have attempted to remove logic from our relations from them for some time.
Yes, apparently, based on some prima facie evidence, the people who believe in racism, who have sought to put all of the world's business on the basis of what color someone is, and then exploit that, both to accomplish things materially and for the ego-tripping aim toward embellishing royalism, meaning puffing oneself up as being better than someone else. Many white people have decided to sign on to that some years ago in the form of a system called white supremacy. It evolved when it started, I don't know, into a system that they think is the best possible system for running the affairs of and the businesses of the people of this planet, and just do everything on the basis of color. And that was their logic, and it has proven to be the most successful idea in getting things done that has ever been thought up. The downside of that is it automatically manufactures throwaway people by the millions. That is the fault of that, and that should be replaced with a system that should have been in place right in the beginning, and that is a system of justice. So I often say that justice is better than racism, which kind of goes without saying if a person thinks about it logically.
You mentioned a few things in that statement that really rang a chord, resonated, I should say, within myself. When you had mentioned that egoism, materialism, that these were fundamentals of their system and of their methodology of conquering other people, would it also follow that as we are drawn into functioning like they're functioning through the values of ego ego-centrism, materialism, that we are, in actuality, then succumbing to their system, and therefore it makes it that much easier for those of us who are centered around egoism and materialism for us to function as agents of their system?
Oh, well, we function as agents, but primarily the choice word, more accurate word, would be victims. Victims are agents of whatever dominates them. But because the victims are going along with whatever dominates them, but they're doing it out of fear. So the victims, it's best to call them victims rather than agents, because they are victims. They are people who are reacting out of fear and ignorance to the dominant forces. The dominant forces on this planet are those white people, not all, but those white people who have chosen to practice a system of white supremacy. They have become the dominant force on the entire planet. And their mission is to subject the people that they classify as non-white to harm and use and abuse for the support of their system, which, as we have said, is based on propping up their egos, making them feel good about themselves. That's the white supremacists, that is. And at the same time, producing a lot of things along the line of technology and whatnot that are basically for their benefit, but also for the benefit of the entire system overall of supporting what they are doing. Now, other people do benefit from the technological advances, but so many millions are just thrown away, just like so much excess material that would be produced from a factory operation. If you could just picture in your mind a factory, you have materials that go into the factory, raw materials, and then you have a lot of things that wind up on what they call the cutting room floor, a lot of materials. So people are kind of looked at as materials in this system. And in this system, it is predominantly the non-white people of the entire planet. In other words, if you want to get something done and build your ego, you just throw away people and you feel good about yourself. That's basically the whole white supremacy system. Throw away people, stomp on them, and stand back and look at them and smile and feel good about yourself, and then find out newer and better ways of doing the same thing over and over again, right on into infinity.
I think maybe a lot of our listeners who might be covertly listening while at the JOB this morning might have just seen themselves kind of hit with that stone that you were talking about. Throw away people working in a system that does not even serve their own true self-interest. And this is a theme that we come to fairly frequently here at LIB Radio, that even a person, even if you're in that situation, you find yourself part of a system that your heart, your spirit, your logic tells you this system does not serve your family and your children's self-interest, that person should covertly be plotting and scheming to, when they exit that system. I always say, everyone working one of these JOBs should have a secret file called, "When I leave this job, I'm going to sue you for all I can get," and use it to start my own business. I want to put in context from which your landmark research, the Universal Compensatory Code, is that the proper name?
It's called the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. The book itself is a textbook workbook, the subtitle, textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism. And of course, racism is defined as white supremacy. There is no other form of racism. One of the main features of the book is that you have to use language that reveals truth. Language has not been used to reveal truth in the system of racism. Language has been used in the system of racism to support the system of racism. When you put a master system in place, everything that you are going to have, all of the ingredients that are going to be a part of that system, are supposed to be designed to